Hello everyone, welcome back to another podcast. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how to train when we're ill or when we have a cold or when we're injured, because a lot of the time when these unfortunate events occur, we think that we often have to rest, and when we rest it usually means no movement, no exercise, sometimes not even going for walks or doing mobility. And sometimes with that, the nutrition can slip aside as well. So just talking a little bit about how we can still take care of ourselves, keep moving so that we can actually help ourselves improve and recover and get back to where we were. So we don't have to keep started again on this cycle of getting off track and on track all the time. So let's start off with a cold as one of the examples. So we've fallen ill, we're getting a cold, and we feel that what we need is to lie in bed, have a day off, have some rest, not move, and eat, because you know the famous saying of starve a fever, feed a cold. And it's very true. Often when we actually get ill, it's because our immune system is suppressed and we've fallen in contact with some sort of virus, bacteria, and then our body is responding to that with the symptoms as we fight it. So that's all down to our immune system. Now, there are actually a few things that we can do to improve our immune system. One of those, the biggest one, is getting plenty of sleep. So our sleep hygiene, and making sure that our environment is clean and that we have a good sound routine, that we're not just going to bed for the same amount of hours each day, but that we're actually getting the same routine, and the quality of that sleep is great. So great way to improve the quality of our sleep is to have a routine that is the same, so that it triggers the same response every time we want to get ready and go to sleep. So it could be something like brushing your teeth, having a lower lamp and a dimming lamp so it slowly gets darker, having the smell of lavender on the pillows, maybe reading a book or meditating, or anything that you do as your sleeping routine is a good way to a good thing to build up, so that whenever you go to sleep, no matter what time it is, you then have a better quality night or day sleep, depending on what shift you're on. So the number one thing to help with immunity is sleep, making sure you're getting plenty of sleep there. Of course, when we wake up and you're feeling groggy, that might be the time that you think, actually, I don't want to go to the gym today because I feel gross and I don't want to be exercising, which is fair enough. I think there's a lot of myths that we need to sweat out a cold. Sweating out a cold does not help, because when we have got an illness, our stress response is usually heightened because we're trying to fight whatever it is that's going around our body. So if our stress response is really high, exercise is actually just another stressor. So if you then go and do a HIIT workout, go for a run, or do whatever intense exercise it is to try and sweat out the cold, you're actually just adding more stress to your body. So to actually fight the illness that you've got, you're making it harder because your stress is going up, and with higher stress, our immune system is suppressed. So actually one of the best things to do here, I would believe, is to go for a walk. Make sure you're clearing your head, make sure you're taking time out for yourself and still moving, because even that movement as well helps get the blood flowing, helps with the white blood cells in our blood to help fight infections and illnesses as well. Another thing would be stretching, just making sure that we're doing our daily mobility. So if you've got your workouts, instead of doing the full workout, just go and do the stretches. So you might think it's best to stay at home and do these, which some situations it is, but it might actually still be very good, and I would suggest it's still good to still go to the gym and do that stretching, just to keep in that routine of going to the gym, so that when you do get better, you don't have to face this, oh God, now I've got to get back into going to the gym. You've actually kept that habit up and you've not lost that habit. So even if you just go in, doing the stretching 10, 15, 20 minutes and then driving back or walking, biking, however you get in there, and that's a really good habit to keep in there. So yeah, if you are ill, don't worry about sweating it out and trying to fix yourself that way, but just literally getting some more movement in, go for a walk or doing some stretching. I actually think stretching with your eyes closed as well when you're ill really helps, just like bring all your senses to one, brings the stress right down and really helps as well. I actually did that last week when I, funny enough, had a cold. So yeah, just make sure that whatever exercise you are doing is at a lower intensity and you're actually decreasing the amount of stress through the exercise, and also through your daily stresses, like work or whatever gets you stressed. Obviously, exercise usually are stress release, so if you're then not doing that, your stress is still going to be high. So still keeping the exercise there, but at a lower intensity. Another thing, if you're ill, or I was going to move on to training actually, but yeah, okay, sorry, restart. So before I move on to training with injuries, let's just look at the colds as well. So what I said a little bit earlier about just having a fever, feeding a cold. When you have a cold, like I've said, your immune system is suppressed. And another one of the best things, I don't know how on par it is with sleep, but another great thing to help with our immune system is our gut health. So the gut and all our bacteria that sits around in our gut microbiome really has a massive effect on how our body functions, and even our brain as well. So I was reading a book, a really good book actually. It is, let me have a look if anyone's interested. Just literally called Gut Inside Story About Our Body's Most Underrated Organ by Julia Enders. Really good book. All about obviously the gut and how it actually influences our body and responses. So there's that talk of we currently believe that our brain controls our body, but actually it could be that our gut controls our brain, which then controls our body. So as a result, or instead of, it's actually that our gut health controls how we are, how we feel, how we think, and how our body responds to things. So really, really important to still keep taking care of our gut health. So if you've got a cold and you're going for that feed a cold kind of method there, then make sure you are actually having decent food still. So you're not just having takeouts and breads and all those good comfort foods, but make sure you're still having plenty of yogurts, making sure you're getting fruit and veg in there, really helping your gut health and your immune system actually fight what is going on as well. So yeah, just making sure that when we're exercising, if we're ill, it's at a lower intensity and we're actually relaxing and releasing those stresses, and that we're keeping our diet nice and healthy, loads of good bacteria, healthy fibres, all that good stuff to help with the immune response as well. Oh, and sleep. Make sure you're still sleeping, getting a good sleep routine. So moving on to training when we have an injury as well. So again, another popular reason why we can stop training and stop moving, when actually one of the best things we could do is to still keep moving. So when we stop moving, that's often when things end up getting worse, because muscles work by breaking down and building back up. So every 4 hours they will break down and then they will build back up. And what's helped the build up process is an influx of protein. So having protein in each meal will help this build up process. And then the breakdown and build up stimulus response is also affected by our training regime. So if we're breaking down our muscles, so when we're training, we're not actually building muscles, we're actually breaking them down. And then it's that influx of protein that helps build them back up. Then after 3 or 4 hours, they will naturally break down, and then the body will have an influx of protein and they will build back up stronger and better. So it's like having a Lego brick wall with all the different colours, and then you've got that, and that's your muscle. You then train and knock it all down and all the different bricks go everywhere. What your body then does is build up that wall again with an influx of protein, the amino acids that you have in your diet and the ones that are already there. It just kind of recycles them and tries to make something bigger and stronger. And then every 3 or 4 hours again, whether you've trained or not, it will just break down and then rebuild up again. So that is a constant cycle that our muscles go under, and that's why when we don't use it, we lose it, because it's that response of not building it back up. But another thing actually that helps with the you not losing it when you don't use it is, like I said, the influx of protein. So it's not just the exercise that will build the muscle, it's the influx of protein every 3 or 4 hours. So don't overcomplicate that, just keep it as a breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then an extra meal if you want and need, and you can work into your calories. That will really help with muscle building process. And when we have an injury, we often will stop moving, so that actual build up of the muscle and recovery and like growth will be reduced, when actually what you're wanting to do is, well, what we think we're doing is resting the muscle so it will repair and recover, so then we can start again. But if we actually stop moving, then that response of breaking down and building back up is reduced, and it's not as great as what it could be if we carried on moving. So not actually just saying, oh, I'm ill or I'm injured, I can't move at all. It's actually going, well, what is injured and how can we then fix that? So I've had a lot of people over the years that have had bad knees, bad ankles, shoulders, backs, that if something's happened during a lift or whether it's been outside of training, wherever it is, that it has always been something that we can then include into training to help recover from that. So never think that there's never any options. There is always something else. So that's where you can reach out to me. Obviously we have the calls and the check-ins. Make sure that you're telling me how your body's feeling, if there's any niggles, and we can make any adjustments and additions to your program as well. So if you're injured, don't think that training isn't an option. It definitely is, and we can actually help build the body. This is actually what's really annoying about a lot of doctors and help that we get with our health, is that the answer is often rest, but rest doesn't always mean just do absolute nothing. It means just bring the intensity down a little bit. But it's easier to tell someone to rest and do nothing than to prescribe them the correct thing to do that's at the right intensity with the right thing. So that's what we're here for, to help with the correct prescription of what you actually need. So I hope that was helpful. That's kind of where I want to leave it today, just to help us highlight where we are, where we need to be when we're ill and when we have injuries. So when we're ill, make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, bring the intensity of your training down and keep moving, because it does help with the blood flow, white blood cells and your immune response. And make sure we're still having good healthy foods that help with our gut health. And then if we're injured, it's still okay to train. Make sure that we make adjustments to the program so that we're doing exercises to help with the rehabilitation of your muscle, and we are still stimulating the muscle to grow, repair, and be better and stronger. All of those things are actually with the aim of keeping exercise into your life. So like I said at the beginning, we don't want to keep going on and off these cycles of not exercising and then exercising and having to get back into it, because as soon as we stop doing it, that's when it's like you've got to try and work out how to build it back in. So whatever situation you're in, there is always a way that you can keep moving and stay active in some kind of way. So make sure you remember that one. Whenever something pops up, always reach out and have a little chat with me, and we can figure out how to make it work for you specifically. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions about that, pop that in the question box at the end of the weekly reflection form. And I'll get back to you next week with another topic. Thank you for listening.